My name is Denise Nichols. This is my out-of-body experience, possibly a near-death experience associated with nitrous oxide, commonly known as laughing gas, for dental procedure. I was around 16 years old and my parents had made an appointment with a local dentist. My parents had been referred to him from my boyfriend's parents at the time, and they thought he was an excellent dentist. I remember being in the dentist chair in a small room. The room to this day is very memorable. The room was small with a window off to the left and a door off to the right in the direction that my feet were facing. Wall in front of me with pictures. Nothing distinct to remember other than the basic dental room. The door was open, and I could hear regular dental office noises. People talking, music, phone ringing. I was lying back in the dental chair with the dentist leaning on my right arm. He was a little on the heavy side, and his belly tended to lean on your arm as he worked. I had never been given nitrous oxide to have dental work done, but he did this for all of his patients prior to injecting them with Novocaine in the mouth, to try and relax them before the needle was shown. I had been to the dentist many times before for regular visits, and this was to have a filling put in, so he needed to numb my jaw. I'm not nervous when it comes to having work done on my teeth, and to this day can almost fall asleep at the dentist. I remember he talked to me about the gas and asked me if it was okay, and I thought, why not? My boyfriend had told me the dentist did this for him, and he thought it was a cool feeling. Made your voice sound like Donald Duck, and you get a buzzy feeling that makes you feel good. He brought out the mask and covered my face with it. I breathed a few breaths of the gas, and this was the hardest part to explain. All of a sudden, I was no longer lying in the dentist chair, but looking down on myself. It seemed like time was not a factor here. In fact, it took me a while to really focus on what I was seeing. I remember looking down from the corner of the room, near the door, at the edge of the ceiling. I had this feeling that I was stationary at the edge of the ceiling, just there. I did not think to see if I had a body or any of that. The view of the room was like it was all soft and cloudy past the edges of the room, as if the room was solid, but not really. I could look down at this person in a dentist chair. The heavyset dentist was leaning on her right arm, and he had his hand on the mask holding it over her mouth. I could not hear anything. It was almost like watching a black and white movie without sound. The movie camera was at the ceiling near the corner of the room, the door down on my left, almost within touching distance. I cannot remember how long it was, me looking down at this scene, but I wasn't concerned at all with anything going on. It seemed like I was watching TV, kind of detached and unconcerned. I cannot explain how long I was at this vantage point, but it wasn't a long period of time. When I try to put a time frame to this event, it would be like this. Start timing your thought process as you read this and then slow it down, read very slow, kind of like in a dream, but not. I can remember the scene as it unfolded. I can recall just about every moment involved. I had enough time to feel like I was there all of a sudden. I remember looking at the scene below, checking out the room and the dentist, just scoping the place out, kind of like in a detached wonder, like, how cool, what's this? I started to try and figure out what was going on, where I was. Then I felt a presence near me. This presence asked me to look at the scene and focus. I didn't want to, and started to turn and look at the being next to me, and was gently turned to the scene again and told to focus, kind of like a child was asked to focus. I was urged to do something about the scene, told to take the mask off the girl's face. I didn't feel like she was in trouble and didn't feel like I needed to do anything. Kind of like a child thinking, why? I don't even know this girl. Why intervene? She looked like she was okay. I was urged to focus and take the mask off. The urgency, or the thoughts from this other being, were becoming hard to ignore, and I started feeling the need to do as I was told. I started focusing. Look at the girl. Take the mask off. Look at her. Take the mask off. I had to be told to focus as I did not want to. I did not recognize her, and she was not in trouble, or did not seem to be. All of a sudden, the urgency became more than I could ignore, and I started to focus. Then the thought occurred to me. Wasn't I supposed to be at the dentist office? What's going on? Who are these people I'm watching? Is the girl okay? I was looking at the girl and felt shocked. I thought, I'm supposed to be at the dentist. Here I am looking at a girl in the dentist chair that looks like my age. I felt the need to help her. Then I felt this being next to me asking me to focus on me, actually doing something to help her. I felt like I couldn't really help her, as it was a scene I was looking at. For some reason, felt like I couldn't really touch anything. The being kept insisting I focus and to look at the scene. I did as I was told, but in a detached way. Time was rolling on, if you could call it that. If you timed the thoughts you are having as you are still reading this, keep the watch going. The being kept urging me to focus, and I did, with increasing pressure to look and then do something. I kept trying to mentally look around and wanted to look at other things, but was told to focus. Then I remember wanting to ignore the being and look around more at this really cool place I was in, including looking at the being so close to me. I was not afraid in the least of this being. I tried to turn around to my right and was mentally turned back. Weirdest feeling. I had control of where I wanted to look, but it was like someone took my head and gently made me look back at the scene. I don't think I had a physical head while up near the ceiling. No way to verify, mirror. I could not look back to my right even though I tried several times. Every time my eyes were gently forced to focus on the scene, the girl, and most importantly, the mask. Then finally, the being insisted in a very strong way to take the mask off the girl's face. I finally put my mind to the task and focused. The next thing I know, I was in the dentist chair, inside of the girl, trying to get her to remove the mask from her face. To this day, I'm not sure how to explain this. I don't remember touching the girl, but I went to help her, almost begrudgingly. I even felt like I did the regular 16-year-old girl thing by being huffy, not pleased to have to be told to do something. I felt like a teenager, thought like one, at the stage where I did not like being told what to do, and felt like I could make all the adult decisions in my life, and was beginning to push back at parental authority at this time, testing my boundaries and all that. Anyhow, I am inside the girl, and trying to get her right arm to remove the mask. I could not feel her, like I was invisible, but I could move her arm if I really tried. I'm not sure why I thought I could do this, but I kept trying. Maybe I thought I could because I was told to do this, and then I wanted to do it. It was something the girl needed. Help. And the being had insisted I do this, so I thought I could. It was weird. One moment I was trying to help the girl and the next moment I was the girl. It took me a bit to come back into myself, as if I had to remember who I was in this sluggish, slow body. I felt like I was myself, a human being at this point, and I had a funny feeling like I was no longer up in the corner of the room, everything back to normal. But I knew something weird had just happened that I could not explain. I cannot remember any popping or sliding back into my body. Just the thought that I have to help this girl started to move down to her. My perspective immediately turned into I was in her. I could not feel her physical body, but I could, as if I could take both of my hands and pull her one arm without actually touching her. Hard to explain. I was energy, and my hands had the power to move her energy. I remember distinctly having to pull her right arm off from underneath his belly and make a determined effort to pull the mask off her face. This was the really strange part. I was kind of like lying inside of the girl trying to get her to move her arm, and my arm kept floating out of hers. When I removed the mask from my face, I was back in the dentist chair, and it was my physical human hand removing the mask, not the other me. The dentist was trying to put the mask back over my mouth, as if he had just started. He had barely had the mask touching my face, like he was used to giving a patient more gas to relax them, not to knock them out, but to relax them before the needle was used. It was a bit of a struggle, like I was drugged and did not have the energy in the beginning to do this, but kept trying. I remember moving my right arm and taking the mask off, and then having a distinct trail of thoughts, as if in slow motion. I thought, whew, never again. This is not a good thing. No more gas. The dentist did not seem concerned, as if nothing strange had happened to my body while I was not in it. I don't think anything happened to my body, heart stopped or any physical death. Not sure how to explain how I was outside of my body mentally, and it kept on working. To this day, I wonder how this happened. How could I not be in my body, and it keep functioning? I thought that if my spirit was not in my body, that it would no longer work. I even remember being up near the ceiling looking down on her. I don't think she was struggling, just a girl in a chair at the dentist. The dentist was not behaving as if she was in distress. She was not in any distress that I could tell. Not sure how I became in control of the mask. It was in my hand, but I distinctly remember having to struggle to pull my arm off from under the dentist's belly. I remember the mask was in the dentist's hand. Distinctly remember this. I cannot remember how my hand was the primary hand under the dentist's hand, all of a sudden. But it was, and he was kind of pressing my hand down with the mask back onto my face. Then I moved my hand away with the mask in his hand. I don't remember how I took the mask out of his hand, or how my hand became under his. I don't remember him taking his hand off the mask, me putting my hand on it and him putting his hand back over mine. But this must have happened. He tried to move my hand and the mask back over my mouth, but I remember looking at him as I pulled the mask off and away from my face, his hand still over mine, and saying, "I do not need this." I remember the look I gave him, and felt like he physically pulled away from me like I was more powerful than him. The feeling in the room shifted from a normal dental visit, soft music, phones, and people talking, to silence as I focused on the dentist eye to eye. I felt like I had authority over this person, and in an adult way, told him in no uncertain terms, with a look, that the mask will not go back on my face. I felt a little weird, like I was given strength to tell him what to do. I had never met the dentist before, but I was a teenager and was always respectful of professionals and adults, even during this teenage stage. The dentist didn't seem to act weird or funny, like anything strange was happening, and the dental visit carried on as normal. I kind of pushed it to the back of my head and ignored it as quick as I could. It was too strange, and I definitely did not want to tell anyone. I thought they would think I was being unusual, and I knew it was not normal to talk about this type of stuff. I had not heard of NDEs at this time, nor could I explain it, so why try? I want to try to explain the being. I don't know if I could have ignored the being. To this day, I wonder about this individual, and wished he would have let me look at him, talk to him. I was extremely curious to know him. When I became aware of his presence, I was not shocked. I felt like he was kind, and I wasn't afraid to have him at my shoulder, like I expected him to be there. He is big, easily bigger than I am. For some reason I could feel him, his size. My eyesight was not limited, but it was. Kind of like standing in a dark room and having someone stand next to you, just close enough that you are not touching, but very close. I don't know how to explain this part. I could feel his presence, and I could mentally feel he had features, but I could not see with my eyes, but could feel him with my brain. Which was weird because if I was not in my body and my brain was in my body, how could I think out of my body, much less use my brain, to map out features of someone I could not visibly see? I had a distinct feeling I was me, not a dream, definitely not a dream. I wanted to look farther past the walls, for whatever reason I thought I could, and it would just fade to a creamy white past them, like there was something past the walls, but I was not allowed to see through the creamy white stuff. I accepted the situation kind of like at face value, like it was normal to be out of my body talking to this being, did not really question the individual being near me, like that is where he's supposed to be all of the time. To this day I've always felt this being near me. He comes and goes. The feeling that he is there. Just accept it. He is a guardian of sorts. He is there during times of stress, or in times of need, helping me to make the right decisions and helping me to be kind, loving, good, kind of like an invisible father. I have felt him very strong next to me when I am making stressful decisions. Even have felt his hand on my right shoulder twice. Very large hand, to stop me from— That does it for today's video. Let me know what you thought about it in the comment below.